I never remember the words they threw at me, only the flavor, dry as the one with a pocket square, tight mouth smeared with impatience did not reach for my samples. "You want funding," he said. "For, pardon, fancier brioches?" The laughter, bottled and polite, fizzed throughout the room. I launched into my pitch, heart shaking in my chest. My bakery, I insisted, wouldn't just be luxury, but an experience for everyone, regardless of station, the taste of childhood unearthed, my grandmother's raspberry millefeuille, but with a twist. Edible gold yuzu. Pistachio cream. A place, I concluded, where even failure tastes sweet. The panel exchanged glances. Someone asked about projected margins, another about foot traffic on Rue de Cremay. I stammered numbers, which they swatted away with a bored lift of an eyebrow. The pocket square gestured at the display cart. "This is Paris. We have Daloyau, Le Notre, Pierre Hermé. Who are you, Monsieur Four?" "That's my question, too," said another woman with glasses reflecting the stark lights, her mouth curling. "Your recipes are quaint, but to disrupt Paris, it's pure fantasy." I set my millefeuille before them, hands trembling, hoping at least the taste would speak for me. One took a bite, lips pursed, then set it down delicately, as if it might stain her reputation. The verdict when it came was swift. "We appreciate your passion, but Paris is not starving for another pastry shop." "We wish you luck. You'll need it." I left the stage to hollow applause. On the street, the cold bit through my shirt. I stood on the curb, the noise of the city flattening my dreams. Salt from my own tears stung my upper lip, mingling with the aftertaste of defeat. Later, in the smoky living room of my parents' flat, more ridicule waited. My father lowered his evening paper, frowning. "No one wants your inventions," he said. "What happened to taking over the garage, Lucien? Reliable work?" My mother, spoon scraping her tea, offered a soft, "Perhaps you should listen to your elders. There's no shame." But even in her voice, there was the echo of resignation, not comfort. "You always were fanciful." My sister Camille, perched on the edge of the sofa, didn't bother with tact. "You really think you can be the next Pierre Hermé? You're not even a proper chef yet. How much did you waste on those tastings today?" I looked at my hands, cracked from flour, butter worked under nails. Anger fizzed up, hot and bright, but I swallowed it down, letting it settle like bad yeast. "I just want to try," I said. She laughed. "You try in a real kitchen, not making up stories on a stage." She reached for her phone, no doubt already composing a joke for her friends, another failed dreamer in the family. The next morning, I left before dawn, the city slate blue and somber. I rode the metro to the 15th arrondissement, to my rented room above a row of closed butcher shops. The walls sweated mildew. My ceiling leaked when it rained. My suitcase held 2 chef's jackets, the borrowed apron, and a notebook bulging with recipes. I took odd jobs, scraping trays at Les Deux Amis, delivering baguettes through drizzle for a boulanger who trusted me with her secrets, but not her oven. My savings shrank, but I practiced. In the windowless box I called a kitchen, I rolled croissant dough, practiced lamination until my wrists ached. My millefeuille split, my shoe collapsed, but I tasted and tinkered, learning with every burn and failure. When I visited home, months later, the laughter was quieter but no softer. My father let me in with a sigh heavy as pastry dough. Camille barely looked up. Paris bustled outside, oblivious to one small man with big ideas. But somewhere in me, anger cooled into resolve. If everyone thought my dream was ridiculous, I would be quietly, determinedly ridiculous until I made something too beautiful to mock. The years passed, each one shaped by routine and risk. I worked in kitchens that blistered my hands and left my nerves raw. At Le Petit Chef, I broke up lobster shells for bouillabaisse. For 2 months, I worked fries at a brasserie near Bastille. No one cared about my pastry ambition, yet every night, after shift, I folded dough and dreams. The only applause coming from the flaking layers. Omens of change came small, unexpected. An American tourist at Le Deux Amis who raved to the manager about the magical hazelnut twist I'd improvised. A food blogger's accidental feature after tasting my midnight financière left uneaten on the counter of a friend's bar. These slivers of hope fueled me. I saved every euro, sold my battered scooter to buy better vanilla beans and bricks of European butter. I messaged old contacts, risked rejection. Finally, through friends of friends, I was offered a crumbling former beauty of a shop near Canal Saint-Martin. It was little more than ghostly tiles and shattered windows. The rent was impossible. The bankers, even shabbier than the investors, snorted at my collateral. I pressed on, borrowing from anyone who would listen, promising free pastry for life. I scrubbed the counters until my fingers bled, painted over water stains, and patched leaks with masking tape. My oven was second-hand. My sign, hand-lettered in red and gold, Faur. On my first morning, the shutters rattled in the wind. I laid out trays, cardamom buns, vanilla eclairs, my grandmother's raspberry millefeuille, crowned with pistachios. Hours crept by. One elderly woman wandered in, sniffed, bought a palmier, and left without a word. But then, a week later, someone filmed my millefeuille on their phone. They posted it online, Paris's hidden gem. By noon, a small crowd pressed against the front window. By 1, I'd sold out. The months blurred into a frenetic joy. Each week, more press. Le Figaro called my tart a serenade for the palate. Tourists snapped photos, influencers tagged me. My hands didn't stop trembling, but now with excitement, not fear. I hired an assistant, then 3. One morning, a Michelin inspector left a discreet card on the counter. My knees nearly buckled. A year in, I bought out my lease. I sent clippings of reviews and handwritten invitations to my family, parents, Camille, cousins, and the aunts and uncles who, over dinner tables, had pronounced my dreams charming but absurd. I sent formal invitations to the neighbors from my parents' building, who'd kept tally of every failure. The memory of their scorn was still sharp sometimes, rising with the early morning mist. But something inside me softened. Anger had eroded into something quieter, serenity maybe, or simply the knowledge that I had survived. I planned the menu for my return for weeks. Raspberry millefeuille, almond apple tart with ginger cream, pistachio Paris breast. I wanted every bite to be proof. I hired waitstaff in pressed white. I painted the front step myself. I will never forget the look on my father's face as he stepped through my door, nor the way my mother clung to his arm. Camille trailed in last, barely glancing at me. The bakery, now my bakery, gleamed in the sunlight, counters shining, glass cases packed. Saffron-dusted financières, burnished and careful, glowed among the cool eclairs. The air simmered with bittersweet chocolate, citrus, roasted nuts. The noise of the crowd pressed against the windows. I stood behind the counter, chef's coat crisp, hands folded, face calm as I could manage. "Welcome," I said, voice steady. "Bienvenue." For a moment, nobody spoke. I saw my father's gaze flick from the busy kitchen to the queue outside. I watched him trace the gold-lettered reviews framed on the wall. A revelation, Paris's pastry renaissance, Lucien Faur's symphony of flavors. My mother blinked back tears, though her mouth still pressed tight against a universe of fears. They took their seats, my family Neighbors, former friends. They sent out plates, raspberry mille-fille, its layers lacquered with compote. Pastry as crisp as autumn leaves, warm apple tart, sugar crackling atop, and pistachio Paris breast glowing under the shop lights. Outside, the crowd only grew. Onlookers